Namaste and welcome, dear audience, in this special moment. This is me, Rohan Shrestha, and today we are going to focus on the networking industry. And for this, we have the MD of Juniper Network, Mr. Sargent Paul, and similarly the head of technology, Juniper Networks head of technology, Rajesh Kumar. Let me welcome them. Welcome to our television.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Let's start with Sargent. First of all, Nepal as the market and the neighbor.
Yeah, absolutely. And I kind of treat it like a same domain, and the technology. There is a lot of similarity between the customer need and the landscape of both India and Nepal, and it's a great opportunity for some of our cutting-edge technologies to be deployed, and that will help our customers in Nepal to have a better connectivity to the network, and therefore they can and be part of the economy. And much more.
Same question to you as well, Rajesh. Nepal as the neighbor and the market to you, your individual analysis.
Exactly. Nepal, what we see is that it's like the technology, what they are looking at, the way they are moving from their traditional to the modernized technology, what we saw in India is happening now in Nepal. So we see that the same concept, which is we did it in India, is going to happen in Nepal. So we are very keen, and we really admire the skill set here. So we want to be part of this journey in the digital transformation of Nepal. Yes.
It was in 2020, isn't it? Juniper Network first was introduced in Kathmandu, Nepal.
It's almost a decade now since we introduced, and we've been working with some of your key customers here. Yeah. And our journey has been very fulfilling, and in defining some of the most important connectivity infrastructure for Nepal. It's almost over a decade now.
Hasn't it been to tell our audience what does this actually Juniper Network does globally as well as India and Nepal?
So our vision is to connect everything and empower change. So when you connect everything, that includes machines, that includes human beings, systems and infrastructure all together. All of them need varied degrees of connectivity, varied degrees of assurance is required to be connected. We firmly believe that the amount of usability of a thing or a person comes by connecting them together, being part of the fabric. And the fabric becomes such an important element that in the absence of that, the systems will collapse. And therefore, because that is one of the most important element in the industry today, that's our vision, to connect everything and empower a change. How it will change people? The moment you start connecting people, the knowledge economy will start thriving. The knowledge can be shared in real time. The sensor networks can be integrated in real time. The healthcare system can have a much more modest, much more reliable infrastructure to go after in critical infrastructure like healthcare. I think that is our global vision. The technologies have generation differences, and some of the technologies that we used two decades back versus the technology that we use today. There could be a transformational change, but nevertheless our mission remains the same: connect everything and create an experience first networking for.
What is the importance of connectivity in today's world?
Yeah, so as I said earlier, the value of an object or a person got tremendously high if they are connected to the rest of the world. You and I speak,
right?
So we add more value together than I just speak in the air. And if such connectivity can be established in the social, you've seen how the social media has transformed the way the world is working today. Can you imagine in the absence of connectivity how the social media would have come up? So that is the value of connectivity. That's just one example. Imagine your power grid, a connected power grid, that it knows that where is the load is consumed, where the reduction of load, where there's a capacity improvement. If somebody can find information in real time from all these and then move capacity management across, that will help the power distribution much more easier. That's where we empower change simply means you do that. You connect people and connect systems together, and then that create a larger change. Even in the element of computing, as I said earlier, the human beings have access to infinite compute power now, and they have access to infinite storage. Therefore, infinite compute power, infinite storage connected with an infinite connectivity, that is when the full potential of that connected infrastructure will come into play. So that will increase research, knowledge base, education, healthcare, transportation, power, cutting across all of them. That is the importance of connectivity.
Connectivity, right. Rajesh, do you want to highlight something on the technological upliftment, because it's been very long that you have been working in this sector, right? So how was the time then and right now, how we are moving forward?
Nepal?
Right.
Yeah. So earlier, decade back when we were here, right, as rightly said, there was not much of connectivity, there was not much of people using the internet services, right? So we could see that there is a lot of gaps here in terms of the connectivity and the internet services, what citizens wanted to use. But today when we look at, we are amazed that there is a lot of fiber in place, there is a lot of connectivity being brought up by the ISPs, there are a lot of users who are using the internet services, and they are building their skill set and they are able to globally connect. That is what we are seeing very useful, is that they are globally connect. One of the things which I can say is the National Knowledge Network of India, which connects the whole globe. They can use those services. So we are seeing a lot of that happening in Nepal, and they are also keen to move further. They want to digitize it. They want to get further, and they want to have this connectivity much more and increase their bandwidth, provide those services like educational services, health services, right? All this, what we are seeing in the last 6 to 8 years is really going up in Nepal.
What kind of technology that Juniper Network has brought in Nepal?
So here what we have brought is that first is the technologies where we connect the ISPs to the internet, right? And then we connect the users to the ISP and they can connect to the internet. So there are a lot of technologies which we use in between so that they can give actually a experience to the users. What we call it as experience first networking. So it is just not connectivity, right? If I just connect and I don't get the right, when I open an application it doesn't open, then it doesn't mean that I have a connectivity. So if I can have that kind of experience when I open some applications, when I open some videos, right, which is helpful for me when it opens and I can get that kind of experience, is what we are seeing in Nepal is that building up. So they are increasing their bandwidths, they are increasing the connectivity across the provinces and providing that kind of user experience back to those users who are using this.
But still people are not satisfied with this, the technological upliftment in this sector, isn't it?
So
there are so many problems that we are facing while connecting.
That is coming up now, because as I see now there is a lot of ISPs who are really coming, because earlier it was a traditional technologies what they were using, right? Now with AI, modernized technologies what they are trying to use, they are able to know exactly what are the issues are. Right? Earlier they were not able to identify it, but with the modern technologies like artificial intelligence what we are bringing in, right, they are able to identify exactly in what part of the network there is an issue, how it can be resolved faster, and then bring back that user experience. So we are driving that kind of technologies into Nepal which will really help them to sort out these issues, right? And also they are increasing the, as we spoke about, like in terms of having multiple layers in terms of optical, DWDM and IP, we are trying to bring that into a single layer which will really help them to sort out these issues and give that experience back. So these are some of the technologies we are inserting into Nepal, talking to the ISPs, building, identifying those kind of areas, working with them and trying to solve those issues to make this better network and connectivity for Nepal as a country.
I guess, do you want to share?
Yeah, if I may add, the fundamental, you mentioned that experience is not up to the mark. The countries like India and Nepal and many other developing type of countries faces the fundamental infrastructure.
What kind of infrastructure?
So the connectivity is all about the best cost effective and the most efficient connectivity model is fiber connectivity. If you look at these countries, there is no structured way of fiber connectivity across the country. I think I believe in Nepal it's over the overhead fibers,
right?
And you can see the way the fiber, how difficult it is to maintain and manage it. and in some countries they use underground, but there's no structured way of it. There will be 10 different fiber players in the market. Rather, I think one of the areas where governments should focus, and some of the governments are focusing, can we create a fiber highway, the nook and corner of the country, which is as a basic utility. Like electricity is a basic utility, water supply is a basic utility. Can you make fiber is a basic utility for any infrastructure that you build in the ecosystem? That includes the cell site towers, the cell towers, could be every household, every office building. Can I have a fiber nerve center across the country with a, it cannot happen overnight. It has to be planned and executed. The fiber infrastructure globe, and that will really help leapfrog the development. The experience will take, because the biggest challenge is the fiber cuts. If a fiber get cut, the entire, even if you have a 400 gig bandwidth,
it's of no use.
It's
Really of no use.
And the spiraling effect is that if some businesses trust that kind of a connectivity and they come to Nepal or they come to India, and if they don't have the right connectivity, it's a productivity loss for them. That's why this infrastructure is running. So some of the governments have, like in India, we have an initiative called BharatNet. It is actually creating fiber across the nook and corner of India.
Okay.
In a structured, managed way, so that it can be like in a water supply. If something fails, people know where to go and fix it. In the electric supply, if something fails, they know where to go and fix it. In fiber, seldom you will be able to maintain it in that fast. Within few seconds, you should be able to get it. So that is one fundamental issue that you face, and that needs a lot of investment. Or it can be
India?
public,
how
private.
Indian government is working for this, or even let's say Bangalore, it's coping up with this kind of.
Yeah, so I think the government initiative, as I said earlier, is a BharatNet is one of the key initiatives. Then the states
it's for overall India.
It's overall India. Every state has their initiatives, state-led internet project. So the purpose is that they have guaranteed fiber connectivity as much as an electricity to every household and every infrastructure. It's a far-fetched dream because as the population go up, you don't have right of way to lay fiber and maintain it the way you want. But there is no alternate solution to fiber today, and nation's growth will be heavily dependent on how much fiberization that you have achieved so far.
Do you want to highlight something on the future of this networking, since the program itself is AI in action, transforming the future of networking? Do you want to highlight something on that?
Yeah, see, that's what we are saying. The future of networking will be completely related, something known as I talked about is self-driven networks, right? Where there will be less of human errors and the network take care by itself, because then this kind of issues can be sorted out right immediately and bring that user experience. See, today what is happening is the future of networking is all depends on the experience what we give it to the users and their customers. So how we can achieve this is by using AI and what we call it as a self-driven network. So the network has to drive by itself, right, without any human intervention. If we can achieve that, then you can see that how much of the connectivity, the fiberization, network driving by itself, all this will lead to so much of experience that gives to the users. For example, as Sajan was talking about BharatNet, when we did one of the states, there the key element was what we understood is that the doctors able to actually solve patients over the video to a village, right? So they never imagined that this could happen, right? So that is the way it is going through. The future of networking is not just all this, but actually solving the problems of the society, right?
Filling up the gap.
Yeah, fill that gap, because no one, if anyone anywhere should be able to get that service.
I think we consistently realize that the importance of connectivity is so much. Network is a nerve center for any infrastructure. Therefore, building next generation technology to make that connection more efficient, more agile and more resilient, so that the moment you have a dependency on digital systems, in the absence of connectivity, your systems will not serve you, whether it's a government services or in a private sector services. Imagine, I think there's a joke, that people may not come to know if the water supply is failed, but they will come to know immediately if the internet is down. And that's the kind of dependency that people are used to on the connectivity. So we are looking at tools that will enable us to build a better uptime, better resiliency, and better experience to the user. So those tools, AI is one of them, and a responsible use of AI in that infrastructure will certainly help avoid manual errors, human errors. It will help predict certain failures before the customer really come to know about it. It will help fix the issues which are, and it is able to harness issues which occurred in the rest of the globe, and somebody doesn't need to diagnose it here because the issues already occurred somewhere else. I can fix it this way. Within split seconds things can be fixed. So you get a collective knowledge base, you have a predictable analysis, actionable intelligence, and therefore you get a future network. At the end of the day, I think while self-driving network could be a dream, but I think very close to a self-driving network is a possibility. That's a future, yeah. And that is just one part of it. The other part of it is we are seeing actually almost the bandwidth consumption is increasing almost 2 times every year. The bandwidth consumption, and people are, when we have seen the standard definition video quality. We've seen HD, we have 4K HD, we do 8K HD. You know, the amount of bandwidth required if this video need to be live telecasted to a mixer somewhere, it needs huge amount of bandwidth to be there. We need to do innovation in building that bandwidth. Sometimes you have to defy certain physical principles, like Moore's law is one of those such principles, where the number of transistors in a given silicon doubles every 18 months. That's a principle, and that is already reached, and it is kind of getting defied now. Now where do I go if I can't expand it beyond that? So we have to think of technology. Juniper, we are a research company,
right,
and we have a habit of looking at things beyond the regular type, yeah, and then bring in technologies which are available today, and then bring tomorrow's technology today. So bandwidth is one of the most important thing in the networking world, and the consumption is so prevalent that the video consumption, the experience, and the applications and the over-the-top players, all of them are streaming content.
So what should be done to meet that bandwidth? You know,
so
prediction.
So that is why the technology plays a very important role. 1 gig is given way to 10 gig, 10 gig is given way to 100 gig, 100 gig is 400 gig. So we are actually deploying 400 gig in Nepal, Nepal today.
Okay.
And we are already doing research on 800 gig on the and then you look at 40-50 terabit routing systems, all there. We are looking at the silicon photonics. That's things which defy some of the common understanding that we're building on silicon photonics. So these are the areas where innovations need to continue, and the bandwidth consumption will continue to double every year.
Can we dream of digital Nepal or not?
Absolutely. It shouldn't dream actually, it should be a reality. It shouldn't remain as a dream. I would say that if you're not going in that direction, you'll be left behind. Anything which is not digitized will drag you back a decade. You can probably run like an island. Imagine an island with no connection to anywhere else.
To anyone.
Yeah, and the moment you become digital, you have access to technology and information and knowledge base across the globe, and otherwise the countries won't progress if you're not adapting. And I wouldn't say that every country will adapt to digital in every if I grade it from 1 to 10, all of them have their journey, their socio-economic, cultural backgrounds, there are effects, actually how much of personal information is being shared, what is the privacy rules attached to it, governments are authoritarian or democratic. So all those things will overarch this digital transformation. Not that it will happen, it's just technology. Technology is available today. The dream, if government has a dream,
definitely
it can happen today.
What about Rajesh? Do you think that we are on the right track to become to fulfill the dream of becoming, digital Nepal?
Absolutely, because the way what we see in Nepal from the last 6 to 8 years, it is moving towards digitalization. But what we see is that what how the journey has to happen, because there should be a lot of government support to it. And we have seen the ISPs increasing their bandwidths, building their fiber connectivity, bringing their data centers, building their data centers, right, trying to get AWS, Google of the world into Nepal. So when all these are happening, then the video content is increasing. So when we are looking at all this, this is the right approach to move towards digitization, but how the journey takes place, how the government has to look at is what is important.
How government should support to make this dream fulfill?
There is a lot of parameters, like government has to have a plan in terms of, as I rightly said, first as the connectivity, the fiberization is very important in any digital world, right? That is one of the key things which they need to look at. And the second is they need to look at what are those services or the offerings, what they can start as a journey which doesn't hurt the citizens, and how they can make it digitization, right? And third, bringing in the global knowledge, global players into Nepal, right? That will help them in terms of going more towards digitization. So if they plan in that kind of journey, then I think in next 5 to 6 years, Nepal should be in that.
Yeah, if you take another step forward, I think Nepal also should bring in a lot of entrepreneurs. I think right from the education system, so that they can bring in new ideas and then build. Because if you look at the journey in India,
right, that's what I know.
There are huge amount of entrepreneurs and startups, and government has set up startup ecosystem and incentive to startups, incentives for making in India, incentives for software companies, tax breaks. There are a whole lot of infrastructure built into creating a. Maybe it is just a comparatively, it may be much lower than maybe what has happened in US and others, but I think that ecosystem need to be very important, and then new ideas will emerge, new support model will emerge, and then you will see that Nepal become a knowledge society, and then contributing to the larger economy. So I think
right. Do you want to share some of the policy that India government has drafted?
Yeah, I think if you rewind back to the digitization era, when India started slowly digitizing, one of the things we did, we wanted to do software. We want to make India a software powerhouse, and out of all the world, the countries, India wanted to become a software powerhouse. What was in our hand? Maybe an English knowledge was in the hand, and maybe few large premium institutes, technological institutes like the Indian Institute of Technologies. Those were the only assets India had, but that created real great people coming out of that infrastructure. To bring software companies to India, what government of India did is, all assets that they buy for infrastructure building is tax free. So every software company will have millions and millions of dollars worth of infrastructure to be built in India. All their imports become tax free, and they have tax free zones, special economic zones, software technology park, STPIs. So they created that ecosystem, and then education institutes, and that kind of spiraled into, when we started off with the 5 or 6 premium education institution, that runs into thousands of premium engineering colleges, technology, and then people start bringing up that economy. I think that's a well-oiled machine now. The software, India exports almost serves a great part of the world software ecosystem. Today, you would have seen Make in India is the government's one of the policies. Right. Why can't we become a hardware powerhouse? While we are a software powerhouse already, why can't we become a? So government is giving production-linked incentives, that if you produce in India, you get this much of incentives, or preferential market access, PMA. So that will entice the global players to come and manufacture in India. I think those are some of the areas. Then, of course, there is no excuse for fundamental infrastructure, like power, real estate, fiber connectivity. Those are fundamental things.
Okay.
And in the absence of that, all other things will fall apart.
Do you want to say something on this AI, the artificial intelligence, the growth of artificial intelligence?
Yeah, it is. I think artificial intelligence is not new. The research work has been happening for many decades on artificial intelligence, but I think the access to greater amount of compute and storage and connectivity was absent in the past. So the people were making simple standalone artificial intelligence system. They teach them 10 things, they will
Right.
do 10 things.
Right.
You teach them 20 things, they do 20 things. Versus now you can teach them a billion things, and they can keep learning on the wire, and then that has become the fulfillment of AI now. So I'm seeing that the technology is an enabler, while a lot of people are worried whether that will be a destroyer.
Right. That is what the
that will that replace
that.
human being? Will there be any morality anymore? Will the truth be ever be heard, or truth be made lies and lies be made truth? So all those are possibilities. Like a human
Those
being,
are possibilities, isn't it, in research and
human
science?
being can be trained like a good child or a
That's it.
or a wayward child. Exactly the same way, a machine can be trained the way you want to. I think that is, but at the same thing, if I look at the positive side of it, as we have operationalized AI in our network infrastructure, that's what we're going to talk about it
Right.
today. If I can avoid human errors, if I can plan and engineer a network, if I can improve the experience to the end user, then that's a great asset in the AI. Yeah.
People are afraid of this AI, isn't it? Will it replace human being or not? It's a very big question to the human
No, I don't
civilization.
think so. It will replace humans, but it will reduce the human errors which we see in the networking industry today, because we come from the networking industry. It reduces human errors. It brings out a lot of faster rollout of services, faster rollout of networks. These are some of the things, because what is AI? AI is nothing but having some deriving intelligence out of large data what we collect, right? So how fast we can get that intelligence, and how fast we can predict, and how fast we can solve those issues. That is where AI is coming from. But these humans are, they have to do their, they have to have their plan, they have to design their networks, all that has to be done by the humans. But this day 0 to day 2, what we call it, is comes where the AI comes into play, right? Once we do that, then it knows that what is happening in the network, it starts learning about the network, and then it starts predicting what are the issues, and it starts resolving the issues. So reducing the human errors, that is where it is. But still it doesn't completely replace the humans, but it may not create errors which is created by the humans. That is the only difference what
The
we
more apt word is machine learning.
Machine learning.
AI is a much larger.
Yeah.
It's a machine learning. Machines learn things, repetitive things faster than human being, and then they can make it repeatable without errors. So,
Errors.
It's totally error free or what?
so it is depending on what you're taught. If I teach you that sun rises in the west, and
Then
from your birth you will go and tell others that
Yeah.
sun rises in the west. And the machines can also do the same. So for machine that is truth.
Don't you think that this kind of technology has made us more dependent?
Yeah. So I would say more independent.
Independent.
In the sense.
Independent or dependent?
Independent, I would say. We come from the network background. That network, we don't need a certified engineer to troubleshoot a situation. I will rather trust the machine, because machine has knowledge about the end-to-end network. A human being will only know what he's seeing there. So that level of independency is there. But it is dependent. If a child is in infancy, somebody need to take care of him. Somebody need to really take care of him and train him. Same applies to animals. If you want to domesticate an animal, you need to literally take care and then train them and retrain them and retrain them and retrain them. Then they become, at least they know what to do
human friendly.
in that situation. AI is exactly the same thing. How we want to train the system. It can be a right training or the wrong training, the right purpose and the wrong purpose. So it is as simple as that. Technology does not dearth of technology, but it is the intent, what you want, how you want to deploy it for. Some of the positive use cases are the future of networking. People use it in the government side to or the diagnosis of diseases, predicting some of the pandemic. All those things are possibilities. Or traffic management systems, AI can come in handy. Face recognition, AI can come in handy. Face recognition systems are already there, but there is no intelligence. They recognize a face, and after that, what do you do? The AI can bring in that, if this is the face, then this guy appeared somewhere else, and there is a criminal case against him. So that you can connect the dots in real time. Situational evidence can be given. So all those things, it may appear in courts also. because if thousands of cases and judgments need to be analyzed, humanly impossible. Lower courts, session courts, high courts, supreme courts, if thousands of judgments and similar patterns need to be analyzed, humanly impossible. Can an AI system analyze all this and say that, oh, there is a similar judgment happen in that sessions court, so there is a precedence already, can I do it here? So this is immense opportunity. I think I would say that whether you like it or not, almost every software, every solution will have an AI component built in the coming days.
Do you want to add something on it?
Yeah, so you said accurate or not, so I just wanted to say that what we do is as we train the AI, we also have a lot of whatever the issues we find in the network across the globe, we keep feeding that to the AI so that it keeps learning and learning and learning and it becomes perfect, right? Because some issues might have occurred in Europe or US which may not have been seen in India today, right? But if the AI has learned that and tomorrow in Nepal or India that issue comes up, it knows how to solve the problem, right? If it was a human, it would have taken days and days to understand what the problem is, where it had occurred, whom to, right? So that is where we are seeing as a AI giving a lot of future of networking is what we are talking about is this, right?
One other, if I may add, I think one of the areas that we missed is the cyber security side.
That is what I was.
Yeah, so network, we have seen the future of networks and capacity planning and all that. In cyber security, imagine that you have a large campus, there are 50 security guards. One guy finds a danger somewhere. So he feels, okay, it's quite unusual, but it's okay, chalega. They will not. Does he have a mechanism to give a situational view to all of the security guards? Today we use walkie-talkie and things like that. Imagine that millions of such incidents across the globe create a huge amount of potential actionable intelligence and database, which is coming in from AI, can do a tremendous job in finding out risk patterns, and analyze. In India, we have government has made a policy for IP data recording. That means every ISP and public sector enterprises, the data will be monitored.
To make it more secure?
To monitor the data by the government agencies and find out are there any potential security threats.
Okay.
So that government can give just like you can forecast the weather. Looking at the weather agency's report, you forecast that there could be a cyclone. Exactly the same way, can I say that this bank is a potential cyber attack? Please do the following. Can the governments or the agencies give a pre-warning? In the absence of AI, you will not be able to do it.
What about the data security?
Yeah, so data security is we are in an economy which is all connected. The connectivity comes with the negative side of that is your privacy is lost. Your social profile, your digital clone, maybe know better than what you remember. I think that's a situation. So that's why governments across the globe are looking at privacy rules. How much of data can be the citizens' private, and who is accountable? And governments have to come up with privacy rules, with thought after privacy rules. What is doable, what is not doable, and enforce those things, because there is no limit to data privacy. Governments have to create that.
Do you want to add something on the technological side?
Yeah, data security, exactly. So because there is no point where security can be fully secured in terms of the data security, but what we are looking at from India perspective is there are a lot of guidelines, there are a lot of compliances which banking sector has to take care in terms of keeping that data security well, right? So those kind of things are coming up in place in terms of compliance, certification, in terms of what guidelines they need to follow. So those are some of the things which we are looking at, and from the technology perspective, there are a lot of proactive security measures which has come up, right? Same AI is being used in our networking era, in our Juniper, is that we use a lot of AI for security purpose as well. We can predict that this may happen because I see these behavioral characteristics in this particular network, right? So you might have heard of low DDoS attacks, like they do a small attack somewhere but they're really targeting something else, right? So those kind of things which are very difficult to find out is through AI what we do it. So we know the behavioral, suddenly if there is 10 MB, suddenly it goes to 1 GB or 10 GB. we know there is something wrong happening in this particular point of time. So we can take that measures automatically by the AI.
Why this Juniper network has become the preferred choice?
So there are a few things. One, of course, is ability to handle scale and complexity, because scale and complexity are two enemies of connectivity. More the scale, the network become more complex, and there are not many players who can manage that kind of scale and complexity. Commodity players can probably give you a connectivity, but they can't manage the scale and complexity, especially the mission critical thing. As I said earlier, network become the nerve center for any digital economy, and then an absence of that will create a vacuum. The economy will come to its knees. So that is why one of the key areas why Juniper. Then we actually give a very competitive value proposition, and customers find value in bringing Juniper. For example, some of the systems that we deployed a decade back in Nepal can be brought to the latest technology in no time. The technology that I deployed for 1 gig, I can upgrade today to 400 gig. It doesn't have to do a rip and replace. So that's the second point, the longevity and commitment to the research. The third one is the futuristic view. We are developing our systems 5 years ahead of time. And a lot of companies build systems based on open hardware, off-the-shelf hardware, we call the ODMs. Juniper has its own, building its own chips, like what iPhone has an Apple chip sitting inside. Therefore, I can create my framework around that. Juniper builds their own silicon, which is the heart of the system. Therefore, I can do 10 things more than what the open system can do.
Any plans focusing on Nepal?
The plans are fundamentally to help the digital world in Nepal, create this capacity, and work with our customers to ensure that their business problems are solved. Even today we were with one of the customers. They mentioned my biggest problem is the layers of infrastructure I laid over many years, creating an operational penalty on me. My ARPU is coming down. Can you solve the issue? It's a very complex problem to be solved.
Right.
So we are putting an architectural blueprint in place for them. That how can I reduce the layers, thereby your operations costs go down drastically, and you can leapfrog to a technology and bandwidth which is way ahead of time, and that will give them a competitive advantage. That is why people look at Juniper when there is scale and complexity. If there is a traditional run-of-the-mill hardware, there are many players in the market here.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure talking to you.
Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks to you as well, the audience. Keep watching News 24 Television. Namaste.